$250,000. 11 years. The state paid $2,400 a month to my foster parents for me. They treated me like some kind of animal. I slept in the basement, ate scraps. At 16, I ran away from them. All names have been changed for privacy. I'm 22 years old and live in Portland, Oregon. 6 years ago, I ran away from the Miller foster home in Spokane, Washington, a home that never felt like home. My name is Emily. My biological mother lost her rights when I was 6 months old, a heroin addiction, an overdose in the apartment with me in my crib for 3 days. The neighbors heard me crying. My father wasn't listed on the birth certificate. The first 5 years in the system, 8 different families. Some returned me after a week. Cries too much. Doesn't bond. Difficult child. By the age of 5, I knew I was unwanted. Problematic. Broken. Then came the Millers. Deborah and Robert Miller, ages 35 and 37, lived in a large house in suburban Spokane, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a manicured lawn. Robert worked as a manager at Boeing, and Deborah was a homemaker. Their daughter, Ashley, was 7 years old. Social worker Jane brought me to them for the first time in March 2012. I remember that day perfectly. Deborah was waiting on the porch in a beautiful dress, a wide smile. Emily, finally, we've been waiting for you for so long. Robert walked out of the house. Welcome home, baby. Ashley stood behind them, her blonde hair in pigtails, wearing a pink dress, looking at me curiously. The house was like something out of a magazine. A fireplace in the living room, a large kitchen with marble countertops. Ashley showed me her room. Pink walls, a canopy bed, shelves full of Barbie dolls. And this will be your room. Deborah opened the door opposite. A small room, a simple bed, gray walls. But the bed was soft. The window had curtains. It smelled fresh. We'll decorate it together, Deborah promised. What's your favorite color? Purple, I whispered. Then let's make it purple. She smiled. For the first time in 5 years, I believed that there could be a permanent home. The first 6 months were a honeymoon. Deborah cooked good food, fried chicken, pasta, homemade cookies. Robert played board games with me in the evenings. Ashley shared her toys sometimes. We ate together at the big table in the cafeteria. They asked questions about my day at kindergarten. They laughed at my answers. I felt visible. Jane, a social worker, came once a month for the first 6 months. This was standard procedure for new placements. How are you, Emily? She asked as Deborah made tea. Okay, I answered honestly. Do you like it here? Yes. I have my own room, and Deborah cooks delicious food. Jane took notes. She looked around the house. Everything was always perfectly clean. Deborah was always smiling. 6 months later, the adoption was officially finalized. I became Emily Miller forever. Jane congratulated us. You're a real family now. I'll check in every 6 months for the first 2 years, then annually until Emily reaches adulthood. Standard procedure for all foster care adoptions. She left, and everything changed. The first change was subtle. Deborah stopped making me a separate plate at dinner. Emily, feed Rex first, she said. Then you can eat. Rex is their golden retriever. I was pouring out the dog's food while the family was eating dinner in the dining room. I heard laughter and conversation. When they finished, Deborah brought me my plate. Here's your dinner. Leftovers, cold chicken, soggy vegetables, what they didn't finish. Why can't I eat with you? I asked a week later. Deborah leaned toward me. Her voice was quiet but firm. Because you're not blood family, Emily. We feed you. We keep you safe. Be grateful and don't ask questions. Then she smiled. And remember, if the social worker asks, you eat with everyone else. Got it? I nodded, startled by the tone of her voice. The room was never painted purple. 3 months after the adoption, Deborah walked into my room. We need this guest room. You're moving to the basement. To the basement? It'll be your own space. More room. Ashley needs this toy room she's growing. The basement was damp and cold. A small window near the ceiling let in little light. The folding bed creaked every time I moved. Can I have another blanket? I'm freezing. I asked Deborah on the first cold night. We don't have any extras. Close the window tighter. The window did not close completely. The frame was broken. When I was 7, a new social worker came to the house. Jane had left for another work. Now there was Linda, a woman of about 50, stern, with a folder of documents. Before her first visit, Deborah sat me down on the sofa. Robert stood next to me, his arms crossed. Emily, listen carefully, Deborah said slowly. A new social worker is coming today. She'll be asking questions. Okay, I said quietly. you'll say that everything is fine, that we feed you well, that you have your own room, that you're happy. But I sleep in the basement. Deborah grabbed my hand. Art, thankfully, the basement is your room. You'll say, I have my own room in the basement. I like it there. Understand? I nodded, tears in my eyes. Robert leaned toward me. Emily, do you remember how many families there were before us? 8. 8 families who didn't want you. If the social worker decides we're not taking good care of you, do you know what will happen? I remained silent. You'll be thrown back into the system. And you know how many families want to adopt a troubled 7-year-old girl? 0. You'll spend the next 11 years in group homes with kids who fight, with caregivers who don't care. Do you want that? No, I whispered, then smile and say everything is fine. Linda arrived an hour later. She inspected the house. Everything was spotlessly clean. Deborah had made me clean for 2 days. Emily, can we talk alone? Linda asked. Deborah smiled. Of course. Emily, show Linda your room. I led Linda into the basement. My heart was beating so loudly, I thought you would hear. Linda looked at the cot, the thin blanket, the damp walls. She frowned. Is this your room? I remembered Deborah's words. 8 families. Group homes. 11 years. Yes, I like it here. Lots of space. It's cold here. I like the cool. I lied. Linda wrote something down in her notebook. Are you being fed well? Yes. Deborah cooks deliciously. Are you happy? I forced myself to smile. Yes, I'm happy. Linda left 20 minutes later. Deborah walked her to the door, a big smile on her face. Thanks for stopping by. Emily settled in so well. When the door closed, Deborah turned to me. Good girl, Emily. Keep it up. Clothes were the next humiliation. Ashley wore new clothes from Gap Kids, Justice, and Children's Place. Pink dresses, sparkly sneakers, and trendy backpacks. I was taken to Goodwill, a second-hand store. Choose whatever you want, Deborah said, but no more than $20 for everything. $20 for the entire wardrobe. I picked out $2 t-shirts, $4 jeans, and $5 sneakers. Everything was worn, faded, and smelled foreign. At school, kids would notice. Why are your clothes so old? But Madison wore those last year. Don't you have any new clothes? Ashley went to the same school. She heard the comments. She never defended me. Sometimes she laughed along with them. One day, teacher Mrs. Green asked Emily, is everything okay with you at home? I remembered Robert's words. Group homes. 11 years old. Yes, Mrs. Green, everything is fine. Your clothes, they look very worn. I like second hand. It's eco-friendly. I lied, using a word I'd heard on TV. Mrs. Green nodded and asked no more questions. When I was 9, Ashley turned 11. For her birthday, Deborah threw a party at Chuck E. Cheese. 20 kids, entertainers, a huge princess-shaped cake, and $500 worth of gifts. It was my birthday a week before. Deborah gave me a card. Happy birthday, Emily. Inside is $10. Is that all? I asked, unable to resist. Be grateful. Not all children get anything. I wasn't invited to Ashley's party. This is for Ashley's family and friends. Robert explained. You'll be staying home with Mrs. Johnson. Mrs. Johnson was an elderly neighbor. I sat in her living room for 6 hours, watching cartoons, while my family celebrated without me. That summer, the Millers announced a Disneyland vacation. 2 weeks in California. We're going as a family. Ashley squealed. And me? I asked. Deborah didn't even look at me. You'll stay with Mrs. Johnson. It's a family trip. But I'm family too, Emily. Robert's tone was warning. The trip is expensive. We can't afford tickets for you. They left. I spent 2 weeks at Mrs. Johnson's, eating oatmeal and watching Price is Right. When they returned, Ashley was showing the pictures to everyone at school. Cinderella Castle, Space Mountain. We saw Mickey Mouse. Deborah hung the photos on the refrigerator. Happy family. Smiles. Mickey ears. I wasn't in any of the photos. At 10, I began to realize something was wrong. Ashley got everything: new clothes, toys, phones. I got scraps and second-hand clothes. They went on vacation without me. They bought new cars. Deborah got a Lexus RX when I was 11. Where did the money come from? Robert earned about $75,000 a year good, but not enough for private school, new cars, or annual Disney vacations. But I didn't ask. I was afraid. Every time I complained, Deborah would remind me, the social worker will come in a month. Do you want to go back into the system? Linda came every 6 months. Each visit was the same. Deborah cleaned the house until it sparkled. She cooked delicious food which I saw but didn't eat after the visit. She smiled broadly. How are you, Emily? Fine. Are you being fed well? Yes. Trouble at school? No. Linda wrote down, the family is functioning well. Emily has adapted. I recommend continuing the placement. She was leaving. Deborah was hiding her smile. Well done, Emily. Keep it up. When I was 13, Deborah asked me to fetch a box from their bedroom on the top shelf of the closet, a box with documents. I reached into the closet. The box was open. There were papers inside. Curiosity got the better of me. Documents from the Washington State Department of Human Services. Adoption payments from the foster care system. I read slowly, not understanding all the terms, but I understood the numbers. $1,200/month basic allowance for an adopted child. $800/month supplement for children with special needs. I was classified as emotionally damaged. $400/month medical allowance. Total $2,400 per month, $28,800 per year. On me, I stared at the document, holding my breath. 11 years since I was 5. $28,800 x 8 years at the time of discovery equals $230,400. $230,000. Over 8 years, the state paid for my food, clothing, education, and medicine. And I ate leftovers. $4 second-hand clothes. Slept in a damp basement. Didn't go to the doctor when I was sick. It's just a cold. It'll pass. Where did this money go? New Lexus $48,000. Ashley Private School $18,000 per year x 6 years equals $108,000. Disneyland vacations minimum $6,000 each. 4 times equals $24,000. A new iPhone for Ashley every year $800 x 5 years equals $4,000. They spent my money. Money that the state gave for me. I put the documents back. My hands were shaking. She brought the box to Deborah. She didn't say anything, but I knew. Now I knew. I watched the next few months. I paid attention to the expenses. New living room furniture $3,000. Second Lexus for Robert $52,000. Kitchen renovation $15,000. Everything was paid for by credit card. But how did they pay it on Robert's $75,000 a year salary? $2,400 a month. My money. At 14, I couldn't keep quiet any longer. After dinner, when Ashley went to her room, I asked Deborah. I found the documents. We're getting paid for me. She didn't even try to deny it. She just looked at me coldly. So what? $2,400 a month. For my food, clothes, school. We spend them on you. No, I eat leftovers. I wear second-hand clothes. I sleep in the basement. You have food, clothes, a roof. Be grateful. You're spending my money on Ashley, on yourself, on cars and vacations. Deborah stood up. She came right up to me. Listen to me carefully, Emily. Yes, we get money from the state. You know why? Because we took you. No one else did. You were a broken, troubled child. We gave you a chance. You took me for the money. We took you and because we could. And yes, money helps. You think it's cheap to keep you? Your food, electricity, water, gas, you are worth the money. Then why does Ashley get everything new and I wear other people's clothes? Because Ashley is ours. Ours, you are not. You never will be. She leaned closer. And if you say a word to the social worker, I'll say you're lying, that you have mental health issues, that you're ungrateful. Do you know what will happen? You'll be evaluated by psychiatrists. Declared problematic, sent to a group home for troubled teens. Do you want that? Tears streamed down my face. No? Then shut up. Smile. Say it's okay, and maybe we won't throw you out on the street at 18. I remained silent for the next 2 years. Linda would come, and I would smile. Everything is fine. I'm happy, but I save money. Secretly, I found a part-time job at a cafe on weekends, washing dishes, $8 an hour in cash. I told Deborah I was at the library. I hid every dollar in an old Bible in the basement. Over 2 years, I saved up $1,200. When I was 16, I overheard a conversation. Deborah and Robert were in the kitchen, thinking I was asleep. She's turning 18 soon. The payments will stop. 2 more years. Yes, but we need to plan. Without $2,400 a month, we'll tell her to move out. At 18, she's on her own. Where will she go? Not our problem. We fulfilled our agreement with the state. We raised him until he came of age. Contract. I was a contract. That night I decided I won't wait until I'm 18. A month later, when the Millers went to visit Robert's relatives for the weekend, they didn't include me. I packed my things. 2 bags clothes, documents stolen from the closet, birth certificate, social security card, and $1,200. Left a note on the folding bed. I knew about the money, about the $2,400 a month you'd been getting for 11 years, about the $316,800 that was supposed to go to me. Thank you for showing me that real family isn't about money. It's about love, and you didn't have that. Emily, I took the Greyhound bus to Portland. $65 ticket. 3.5 hours. In Portland, I found youth shelter, a shelter for teenagers on S.E. Hawthorne. I told the social worker, Karen, everything. She listened, taking notes. Emily, you're underage. Technically, you're a runaway. But given the circumstances, I won't go back to them. You won't come back. I promise. Update 1 after 3 months. Karen opened an investigation against the Millers. The Washington State Department of Social Services sent an inspector, Mark Davis, who specializes in foster care fraud. Mark questioned me 4 times. I told him everything: the leftovers, the basement, the second-hand clothes, the vacations without me, the intimidation before Linda's visits. Why didn't you tell the social worker? He asked. They scared me. They said they'd send me back into the system, to group homes, that no one would believe me. Mark nodded. Unfortunately, this is a typical pattern in foster care abuse cases. The children are frightened and don't speak up. He requested the Millers' bank statements, expense records, Linda's visitor records. The Millers hired a lawyer. They denied everything. We loved Emily. She's ungrateful, problematic, a liar. But the evidence was clear. Bank statements showed $48,000 for a Lexus RX for Deborah a year after my adoption, $18,000/year for Ashley's private school, zero for my public school, $6,000-8,000 for annual vacations. I never went, $15,000 for a kitchen renovation, $52,000 for a second Lexus for Robert. With Robert's salary of $75,000/year. After taxes, the family's expenses exceeded their income by $30,000 plus per year. Where does the money come from? $28,800/year from the state for me. Mark interviewed his neighbors. Mrs. Johnson, an elderly woman, testified they left Emily with me every summer while they went to California. They said, we can't afford her a ticket, but they bought new cars. Another neighbor, I saw Emily taking out the trash and torn clothes in the winter without a jacket. Ashley was always in new clothes. School nurse, Emily came in a few times with bruises. She said she fell. I asked if they were taking her to the doctor. She said no, it's expensive. Linda, a former social worker, was called in for questioning. She defended herself. I checked the house every 6 months. Everything was clean. Emily said she was happy. Have you checked the conditions in the basement? She said she liked it there. Have you checked the family's bank statements? How are government funds being spent? Silence. Have you checked the medical records? Is the child seeing the doctor as required? I don't have access to medical records without a request. Did you ask for it? No. Mark sighed. It's a systemic problem. Social workers are overwhelmed. 100 cases per person. Visits are superficial. No one examines finances deeply. 5 months later, the department issued a decision. 1. The Millers are permanently disqualified from adopting children. 2. Must return $89,000 to the state funds misappropriated over the past 5-year statute of limitations. 3. Blacklisted as adoptive parents. There were no criminal charges. Technically, they provided basic needs: food, shelter, clothing. Misuse of funds is a civil offense, not a criminal one. Deborah wrote me a letter. 1. You ruined our lives. We gave you a home for 13 years. You repaid us with lies and betrayal. I hope you're proud of yourself. I didn't answer. Update 2 after 1 year. I'm 17. A year since I ran away. I live in transitional housing for former foster children in Oregon program. It's a small studio apartment. It's subsidized for $200 a month. I work as a waitress in a cafe. $13/hour plus tips. Till the $1,800/month. Enough to live on. I graduated from high school through the GED program. Not a traditional diploma, but an equivalent. I applied to Portland Community College. Social work, specializing in child protection. Why social work? Asked my therapist, Dr. Sarah. Because I know what abuse looks like. I know what it feels like for children to be silent. I want to be the one to hear them. Therapy helps. Once a week. Free through the program for former foster children. Dr. Sarah specializes in attachment trauma. Are you still mad at them? She asked recently. Every day. It's normal. Anger is part of the process. I'm not just angry at them. I'm angry at the system. At Linda, who didn't check. At Jane, who didn't notice the changes. At everyone who could have helped, but didn't. And on yourself? A pause. Yes, at myself for staying silent. You were a child, Emily. A scared child. I know, but I'm still angry. I recently contacted Mark Davis, the inspector, and asked about the Millers. They are paying off the state's debt in installments. $1,500 a month. It'll take 5 years. Only $89,000 and the other $227,800. The statute of limitations has expired. We can only collect for the last 5 years. So they stole $250,000 from me and are only paying a third? Unfortunately, yes. The law. Injustice burn. But Mark added, however, I have referred the matter to the IRS. They are checking to see if the Millers reported the government payments as income. And, if not, it's tax fraud, federal crime, prison. Update 3 after 2 years and 8 months. I'm 20. Almost 3 years since my escape, the IRS has concluded its investigation. The Millers did not report the foster care payments as income for 13 years. $28,800/year tax 13 years equals $374,400 in undeclared income. Fine $156,000 plus interest, plus 2 years of probation for Deborah and Robert, plus the mandatory payment to me as the victim, $50,000. Deborah called me for the first time in 3 years. Emily, please. We lost our house, our cars. We're bankrupt. Please drop the lawsuit. I didn't file a claim. The IRS did it themselves. But you can ask them to stop. No, I can't, and I don't want to. We gave you a home for 13 years. You gave me a basement, scraps of food, and second-hand clothes. While you stole $250,000 meant for me, I hung up and blocked the number. The $50,000 arrived in 6 months. I put $30,000 toward education, $15,000 toward a down payment on an apartment, $5,000 toward therapy and a rainy day fund. I'm currently studying at Portland State University. I'm a sophomore majoring in social work. My GPA is 3.7. I volunteer at a foster home, the same one that took me in. I help new children adjust. Last week, an 8-year-old girl came in. Quiet and frightened, she mechanically told the social worker, everything's fine. I sat down next to him. You know, you can tell the truth here. No one will take you back for telling the truth. She looked at me. Promise? I promise. I know, because I was like you. And I survived. And you will survive. She started crying. I hugged her. And I realized this is why I am here. This is my goal, to be a voice for those who have been silenced. The Millers took my childhood, but they won't take away my purpose. I will be a social worker who checks, who sees, who listens. The system is broken, but I'll help fix it, one child at a time. And now questions for you. Friends, was Emily right to run away at 16 instead of waiting until she came of age? Should the Millers' adoptive parents receive jail time, not just fines? Is social worker Linda to blame for not noticing the 11-year-old's abuse? Why do you think Emily remained silent for so long? Fear or hope that everything would change? Should the caregiving system strictly monitor how money is monitored? Speech balloon, write your opinion in the comments. Thumbs up like the story if you were moved by it. Bell subscribe to the channel to avoid publishing new stories.